What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to another action-packed edition of CPA Reviewed, the official podcast of Another71.com. As always, I'm your humble host, Jeff Elliott, a licensed CPA in the state of Kansas, by the grace of God and to the chagrin of many. Happy Friday to you. Today is Friday, February 10th, 2017. All right, we have a monster podcast today. Woo! I am going to attempt to answer 25 questions in, we'll shoot for 45 minutes. So we're going to go rapid fire. Normally when I answer questions, I try to have as good of a bedside manner as possible and try to really be thorough in my answers. This time I'm just going to be boom, boom, boom. So here we go. Rich writes in, Jeff, I have purchased the Ninja Notes for FAR and I have Wiley CPA Excel. Should I watch the videos? Should I read the book and then do the questions? Should I just rewrite your notes and not use CPA Excel? Hey, you paid the money for CPA Excel? Use it. Watch the videos, take notes over the videos. You should not have to read the book because that's the point of the videos. Otherwise, you can just read the book yourself. And so if the videos were worth purchasing, then you should watch your videos and take notes. And you have the Ninja Notes. I would rewrite the Ninja Notes during the 2 weeks out from your exam, and I would start reading the Ninja Notes now, even if you haven't covered the material in the Ninja Notes. So in the Ninja Notes, if you get to bonds, but you haven't studied bonds in CPA Excel, read them anyway. Read the Ninja Notes as many times as possible, and also rewrite them prior to your exam and also during your final review. Terry says, hi, Jeff. Unfortunately, I just got my score back yesterday on BEC and I failed with a 68. It doesn't make much sense to me because I failed BEC back in November with a 73. I could probably recite the formulas and mnemonics to you. In school, I was always a good test taker. I just can't seem to pass these exams. What are your suggestions? If you have a lot of mnemonics in your mind for BEC, then that might be a problem because oftentimes mnemonics are memory aids to mask the fact that you haven't internalized the concepts. And so, and if you're just listening to the podcast, you can't see that I touched my heart there. That's how you internalize. You touch your heart. All right. So you're using a lot of mnemonics. That could be a problem. It could be that you don't conceptually understand the material. You went backwards from a 73 to a 68, so you dropped 5 points. Chances are good that you fell into the usual trap of, hey, I'm only 2 points away, so I need to just cram and then get back in there, and that usually results in people scoring lower than before. You said that you know the formulas. That's good. What I would do, I would repeat exactly what you did to score a 73, but this time I would add the Ninja framework, nail the concepts, intense notes, non-stop multiple choice questions. Then you just rewrite your notes, and it all comes together. It's available for free on Another71.com. Click the study planner. I would incorporate the Ninja framework into what you are doing, and hopefully you'll find success this time. Deshankar says, I'm sure I butchered that name, I apologize. Hello, Jeff, I'm writing to you for my wife. She just got her reg score and got a 74 again. It's like her 10th 74 on the CPA exam. She's been studying since 2002. Both of us are mentally exhausted as we started studying together, and I was done in 2013. She's still so far from it, and she always does her best. She's always prepared well with high scores on all of the mock tests before the exam. However, she always ends up with a score ranging from 71 to 74. What are we doing wrong? She's reached a breaking point, and it's also very expensive for us as we are international students from India. What are we doing wrong? Well, I am a 2-time member of Club 74, so I understand the pain. 10 74s, give or take, that is a lot. And probably what's going on there, so scored a 74 on reg. There has to be a section that you guys either just kind of gloss over or you refuse to study. And I said that because that was my own experience. I did not want to study light con exchanges or AMT. I hated it, especially like-kind exchanges when there's a liability swap. Yeah, not so much. And so I scored back-to-back 74s in regulation, and then I ended up losing my FAR credit because of it. I got back in there, I rolled up my proverbial sleeves, and I studied those topics that I hated, on top of redoing everything else, and I scored a 92 on regulation. And there's probably an area or two that your wife is conceptually weak on. The most important thing here is that you continue to support her, and maybe you find another exam to study for yourself. Maybe you take up this CMA so that you don't leave your partner behind. So eventually she will pass. My gut feeling says she is weak conceptually in some areas. Hang in there and make sure that you continue to be her number one cheerleader. Get up with her in the morning. I don't know if you work together, but at night, study together. Don't go watch TV on the couch while she's studying. Hang in there with her. Don't leave her behind. Steve says, hey Jeff, I have 3 weeks before my exam. I'm finishing up the lectures. I'm going to hit all of the questions for my review course again. I am on a limited budget. Which of your products do you recommend that can help me knock FAR out of the park? 3 weeks left. I would do the Ninja Notes. If you had, Ninja Notes or Ninja MCQ, you can spend 2 weeks on Ninja MCQ, and that would be fine. And 3 weeks left. So Ninja Notes or Ninja MCQ. If you like your test bank or whatever, stick with that and get Ninja Notes. If you want to make a switch, get Ninja MCQ. Katrina writes in, hi Jeff, would you recommend trying to pass BEC starting now before the April 1st changes? I ordered my FAR book, but I'm concerned of all the hype of trying to pass BEC before the changes are effective. Yes, I would say take FAR first, but with BEC changing, I don't think the BEC simulations are going to be the end of the world by any stretch. However, all else being equal, finish BEC first. I would switch over to it. Eleonora says, my reg test is scheduled for March 10th. The week prior to my test, I've taken off work so I can completely focus. I was wondering, how many hours do you generally recommend for regulation? Also, are those hours strictly MCQs, or does that involve the notes, audio, flashcards, etc.? I recommend studying regulation 20 hours a week at about 6 to 7 weeks. And so that's about 130 hours-ish, give or take. And that's the entire gambit of information. So it's your concepts, so your book or your videos, you're taking notes, you're working MCQs till you hate life, you are rewriting your notes. And I would follow the Ninja framework. You can go to another71.com and click on the CPA exam survival guide, and you'll get the study planner and the free stuff. But in there, it explains the Ninja framework and how to study. And I know of no other method that's better than the Ninja framework, not only because I'm biased, but I also believe it is the best. Donovan says, I want to start studying for the CPA while getting my Master's of Accountancy. Which section do you think will be the best to take concurrently with my master's program? I'm hoping to pass all 4 within 6 to 8 months. That is a tall order. I don't know if I would do it if I were you. You have a pretty big load studying for your master's of accounting. I would look and see how your semester lines up. If you're taking some financial accounting classes, like some heavy financial accounting classes your first semester. So most masters of accountancy, unless you're taking night school, it's like 2 semesters. So like if it's heavy financial, then take FAR. If it has, it probably has financial, tax, and audit. So all else being equal, I would take FAR. However, you're taking it concurrently, so that's a problem. So what I would say is finish your master's and then do the CPA exam. If you insist on doing it concurrently, I would probably do BEC and then auditing and save regulation and FAR for when you're done with your master's, although that's like a whole year. So I'm kind of going in a circle here. So see, if you insist on taking it concurrently, see which topics line up best semester-wise, and then take those exams. So maybe FAR and regulation if you're taking a lot of financial and tax classes. Jeff says, I'm taking BEC March 7th to avoid the April 2017 changes. I usually get home around 7 to 8 p.m.-ish and finish eating around 8 to 9 o'clock. I understand I literally only have 1 month of studying. How can I do this? Get up an hour early, study at lunch, and at night, don't spend an hour eating. Spend an hour eating and watching videos and taking notes. BEC is the easiest exam to study for a month in. Auditing is close. Should not be an issue. Just get her done. Steve writes in, I'm taking 4 sections. I'm 4 sections into auditing using Roger out of 9 sections, and I feel like I have way too many notes, but I don't want to miss too much information. Is this normal for auditing? I feel like I have more notes than I did for FAR already. A temptation that some people have, especially if they are kind of obsessive about their notes. So they're obsessive about their note taking. They don't want to miss any little thing. On exam day, they overanalyze the first 3 questions on their exam because they don't want to get off to a bad start. And question number 3, you just couldn't get the answer to come out, and so you obsess with it over half of the exam. And guess what? You end up failing because you were worried about missing question number 3, but you couldn't focus the rest of the exam because it just ate at you. You have to let it go. Let it go. Anyway. So when you're taking notes, make sure that you're you kind of got to follow the 80-20 rule. So the 80-20 rule is you get 80% of the benefits from 20% of the efforts. It is a fact of life. And we can talk about the 80-20 rule on another day. But all of that to say, don't find yourself digging down too much into the weeds. Take high-level notes and move on. The best thing that you can do is map out a study plan. So budget your time for auditing. I want to get through my auditing book or my auditing videos in 2 weeks, and just plow through it. And whatever notes you can take are the notes you can take. You'll make up for it on the MCQs, and you'll take notes over the MCQs. And whatever notes you don't take on the MCQs, you'll pick it up on the final review. Just keep following your plan. Michael says, I have a learning disability and I'm a strong visual and kinesthetic learner. What would be the best combination of review material so I can start studying before my busy season begins? Kinesthetic learning, for those of you who don't know, it's people who like to actively learn, so it's taking notes. So I don't think it matters what video course you take, because you can take notes on any video course. And I don't think it matters what MCQs you use, because you can take notes over your MCQs. So it comes down to demoing a CP review course. So, and looking at feedback on the another71.com forum, does the instructor read from the book, or do they map a lot of stuff out on the dry erase board? So if they read from the book a lot, then that probably would not be a good option for you. If they map stuff out on the dry erase board, that would be a better option. Or if it's PowerPoint oriented. The easy answer is for me to say, yeah, get Ninja materials, but hey, there's a lot of good materials out there, so demo a lot of stuff. If you want to look at Ninja materials, the Ninja Plus videos have a PowerPoint aspect to it, and obviously Ninja MCQ. And for Ninja Notes, you can actively rewrite those. So that is my obligatory Ninja plug. Kevin writes in, how much should I focus on allocating the written communication section for BEC if my MCQ grades are in the range of 65 to 70%? I'm not a huge fan of studying written communications. That could be because I am naturally a good writer, so even if I don't know something, I can BS my way through it. And some might say all 76 episodes of your podcast, Jeff, are great evidence of this. So anyway, so I don't think your MCQ grades have anything to do with how much time you spend on the written communications. I would maybe try 5 written communications, call that good, because your knowledge of the concepts will play themselves out in the written communications. And how you get better at the concepts is studying and doing the multiple choice questions and learning what the fact nugget is that they're trying to teach. So get those MCQs up to, I tell people on Ninja MCQ to get your scores up into the 80s. So I think you need to really, if you're weak in an area, go back and study it in your book. Like say, okay, tonight I'm going to reread the cost accounting section of my book, and then I'm putting it away, and then I'm doing MCQs. Or you can go through your MCQs and try to like fight your way through the MCQs. Write down the things that you're missing and compile a sheet of fact nuggets. So try to get those scores up into the 80s. I'm gonna butcher this name. Sorry about that. Yisrael. Apologize. I'm taking FAR at the end of May. I have 200 hours available. Until then, I have a family of 5 kids. How would you recommend making the best out of my time? When I studied, I only had 3 kids, so you are ahead of me. Taking FAR at the end of May, 200 hours available, way too much time. A big mistake that people make is studying more than 8 weeks for any exam. I recommend 6 to 7 weeks for any exam, max on 8, and I can see that maybe for FAR. And so you're studying 20 hours a week. You're studying for 7 weeks. That's 140 hours. I would shoot for 130, 140 hours for FAR. Definitely not 200. So figure out when you're going to take your exam in May, and then look at your calendar and figure out, okay, 7 weeks, 7 or 8 weeks. Shoot for 7 weeks. When do I start? And then follow the Ninja framework and follow what we recommend there. So that's what I would do. John writes in, do you think a 74 is a pointless exam score? I received a 74 on FAR, and it hurt. To use a fighting analogy, a 74 is a thumb in the eye. You still get knocked out, but you got a thumb in the eye in the process, and you scratched your retina. 74 is horrible. It's the worst thing ever. I'd rather get a 71 than a 74. I can live with a 74, which I've gotten twice. It's a thumb in the eye. It is a pointless exam score. Give us a 70, give us a 71. Because really, a 74, that doesn't mean that we're so close and we just need to cram and get back in there. The study process is the same between a 74 and a 71. You have to redo everything. I feel your pain. A different John writes in, hi Jeff, I found out in August I didn't pass FAR, and I only have 2 weeks before my auditing credit expires. Thoughts on, okay, this question isn't making sense, so scratch that question. Jill writes in, Jill writes in, I started studying for BEC in January, but I found out that I can't. Actually, on that last question, what I did was I tried to trim it down for time purposes. I ended up cutting out the part that made sense. Oops. All right. Jill writes in, I know what the question was. It's like, hey, in April, May, we won't get our scores until August. What are we going to do if I have 2 weeks left before my exam or before my credit expires, and I only have 2 weeks to study? Like, what am I going to do? And the AICPA said, contact your state board of accountancy in that case. So because April, May scores come out in August, if you have a credit expiring, like, that's going to put everyone up a creek without a paddle. And what are we going to do? Contact your state board of accountancy and ask them. Jill writes in, I started studying for BEC in January, but found out that I can't take it until June because I graduate in May. Should I start studying for another section and then review my notes before my BEC exam in June? No. If you do that, you're going to fail BEC, and you'll probably fail the other exam too because you took such a break, and you know the mental buildup to taking the exam and then the exhaustion. Like, you know, you take a week off because exam day is so exhausting, so you lose 2 weeks, and then you've forgotten what you've been studying. So no, you graduate in May, you take your exam in June, start studying for BEC mid-April, and don't study for any other section until you take BEC. Ty says, if you had 4 weeks to prepare for your exam, how would you go about it? If I had 4 weeks, I would spend 1 week max on videos or my book. Granted, you cannot get through an entire book in a week, but you can skim it. You can look at the examples. You can look at the bolded text, so you can get through it that way, and use your MCQs as your main learning tool. So if you're watching videos, get through all of your videos in a week. If your course comes with crayons, ditch the main lecture videos and hit the crayons. Get through those in a week. Take notes as you can. Spend 2 weeks on the multiple choice and take notes. And then spend a final week doing your final review. Follow the Ninja framework for your final review. And that's what I would do. 4 weeks is not ideal, but it is doable. So I studied for auditing and passed in like 2 or 3 weeks. Again, not a best practice. It was awful. Angie writes in, can you please specify the use of your suggested study planner using the Ninja framework and for Ninja only? For example, if you say 4 weeks for BEC, what should be accomplished by week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4? Okay. Week 1, get through all of your book, like get through your books, get through your videos, whatever. And whatever, however far you are after week 1, that's it. Spend 2 weeks doing multiple choice questions and take notes. Then spend your week 4 doing your final review. Start with your weakest topic first and work backwards, all the while reading your notes and studying your notes and taking them everywhere you go. If you can add in a 5th week, then 1 week for concepts, 2 weeks for MCQs, 1 week for rewriting your notes, because it's one thing to take notes, it's another thing to rewrite them. Definitely never highlight. So if you can fit in the 5th week, then prior to your final review, rewrite your notes. And that's after 1 week of concepts, videos, 2 weeks of MCQ, taking notes, and the notes over your videos. 1 week, so week 4 is rewriting your notes. Then week 5 is your final review. Charlie writes in, hi Jeff, I'm taking FAR with Rogers CPA. One problem I've noticed is that I'm in chapter 10 and I've forgotten what I learned in chapter 1. However, I don't have enough time to go back and review every day since I'm also a full-time student. The current daily CPA exam study time takes me about 4 to 5 hours and I don't have extra time for reviewing. What do I do? Charlie, you have to take time to review. Otherwise, you're going to take time to retake the exam when you fail. And that's the, I guess, well, that's just me being honest. And you should always be honest. It's one of my pet peeves. Well, honestly, or to be honest, and I'm like, shouldn't you always be honest? Okay, all right. I took time in the podcast and on this video to share one of my pet peeves. And anyone who's on my email list knows that I hate thanks in advance. So anyone else out there who hates thanks in advance, all right, I'm right there with you. Okay, so you have to study and you have to review. If you just study but you don't review, you're going to fail. So you might have to push your test back a little while in order to fit the reviewing in, or maybe you shouldn't be taking the exam right now because if you can't find time to review, you will fail, which you can't remember in chapter 1. So you're in chapter 10, you can't remember in chapter 1 what you studied. Recipe for a huge disaster. That's a recipe for a 58 on exam day. And all of a sudden you're like, man, maybe accounting isn't for me. Like, maybe I need to take up something else. Blogging for the CPA exam. Eliza says, Jeff, my question is this. How do I get past feelings of absolute hopefulness? I had received a terrible grade, like in the 70s, on my first auditing try. Well, the best way to get past feelings of hopelessness is to just start studying and get to work. So it's almost so sometimes when you're getting ready for something and you have like nervous energy and you have this anxiety. So I've never been a cage fighter, but I have done a lot of taekwondo tournaments. I'm always nervous, like I'm almost depleted from energy before I even step into the ring or whatever. And so how do you get past that? Well, you have to find like an empty ring and start working out. So start throwing your kicks, start going through your routine, and getting your heart rate going, and actually like doing, like replicating what you're about to do, and then you get the confidence to go in there and doing it. The same thing for the CPA exam. So you scored horribly, and now you're really anxious. And the only way to like get the anxiety out, to work that anxiety out, is to get studying, watching your videos or whatever, taking notes, and similar to like getting in the ring and going through your routine. You start working multiple choice questions, and like, man, I just did a section over bonds, and I scored at 80%. Wow, maybe I can do this after all. And just start building up that confidence through hard work. You're not going to get over your anxiety by sitting on the couch and just pouting about your 40 on auditing. You've got to get back in there and start studying again, and eventually you will build up this knowledge base. You'll go in, you'll pass, and then you'll get momentum for your next exam. Margaret says, far is my last exam to go. I need to pass in order to not lose auditing. I'm struggling with some main concepts: bonds, treasury stock, governmental accounting, etc. I'm taking my exam February 20th and trying to nail those down so I can pass. Question: is Ninja Plus, or the Ninja Plus videos, different from the audio course that I have that I get with my combo for FAR? Yes, completely different. Back in August of 2016, we bought the old BISC CPA review course, and so the BISC CPA review videos, and there's a ton of them, and they're really, I think they're really good for the most part. That is what is included in Ninja Plus, and it also now comes with the combo. So yes, it is different. Jasmine says, for Q1 of 2017, BEC is still 3 hours and the MCQ is 85%, while the essays are 15%. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. So BEC is 3 hours, MCQ is 85%, and the essays are 50%. In Q2 of 2017, the exam will be 4 hours. All of the exams will be 4 hours. The MCQ will be 50%. All of the MCQs are 50%. The BEC Sims will be 35%. The other Sims are 50%. And the written communication for BEC is 15%. So it goes 50, 35, 15, and it's 4 hours. Dave says, I am planning to take my first part of the CPA exam, which is regulation. I'm new to CPA Ninja, and I've not tried any of your materials for studying before. Do you think the Ninja book, flashcards, and MCQs would be enough to prepare me to pass the section of the CPA exam? Yes, the book covers the concepts. The MCQs cover, the MCQs and everything to test yourself and build up the knowledge base. The flashcards will help you to review. So I know that it's enough because quite a few people pass using the Ninja book and Ninja MCQ, and there's people who use only the Ninja book and Ninja MCQ to pass. Misty writes in, I am scheduled to take BEC. I'm almost done with all of my Becker lectures, and I have completed a lot of the homework. Can you give me advice on any course of action for studying for the next 3 weeks before my BEC exam? 3 weeks out. I would finish your homework, so finish the MCQ. 1 week out, rewrite all of your notes. Now, chances are that you've only been highlighting in your book. Okay, go through, and the stuff that you highlighted, start writing it down on a stack of legal pads. Spend a week doing that, and then everywhere you go, and don't just write down verbatim. Write down your little fact nugget, and then everywhere you go, read those little fact nuggets. Everywhere you go, just carry those legal pads. They'll be torn up. They'll have coffee spilled on them, and they'll be pretty jank. Just carry them with you, and when you're done, you can set them on fire or put them on your bookshelf as a shrine to all that you accomplished. But carry them with you everywhere you go. Your final week, start with your weakest area of BEC first and work backwards. So if your weakest area is cost accounting, work 20 question mini testlets in cost accounting until you score in the mid 70s. It's an arbitrary number. And then move on to your next section. Maybe it's financial planning or something like that. And so that's how I would do it. Amy says, I'm currently working at a CPA firm as a manager and senior preparer and have a 3-month-old baby. I'm trying to study and take the exam, but can't seem to make it work or get motivated enough. Any recommendations or suggestions on what to do? Also, which section should I take first? Amy, I know what your life looks like because we currently have a 1-month-old baby. So, and I have a few kids. I have 8 kids. So, I know what it's like for my wife for a baby, and so my guess is that you're a manager and a senior preparer at a CPA firm. So your life is awful right now, and you have a 3-month-old baby who you love, but is also takes a lot of your time. So how in the world are you going to also study in the midst of tax season and a newborn baby? And I think the real answer is you don't have to. I'm not going to tell you that you can't, because I would never tell someone that they that they can't, okay? But I give you permission to take the rest of busy season off, restart again in July, okay? And so if that's not that you need my permission, but sometimes people just need to hear, hey, it's okay. And so now, if you don't have the option, and if you're going to do it, then my plan of attack for you would be to really budget out your time, figure out how you can study while you are taking care of your baby. So an audio program like Ninja Audio, shameless plug, and so I would do that. And you can also watch your videos while you take care of your baby. But if I were you, I would try to focus on busy season, focus on your baby, and hit the exam once busy season is over and things die down. Deb says, can you quickly sum up the April 2017 CPA exam changes? Okay, here it is. In April 2017, the CPA exam is not going to undergo this big change that that the media is leading you to believe. No. Okay. The CPA exam, it's still testing the same concepts. And even some of the concepts are going away. So some sections from the, it's called blueprints, or it's going to be called blueprints now. But some sections are being removed from the blueprints. And the simulations are worth more points. The exam is going to be a little longer or a little shorter for some exams. So they're all going to be 4 hours. And they're going to test maybe some higher order skills. How does that affect how you study? It doesn't. And so you still study for auditing the same way. You still study for financial the same way. You still study for BEC the same way. Even though BEC is getting some simulations, you still have to know cost accounting. And in your book, in your examples, you're still going to run through cost accounting in your book and in your videos and then in your multiple choice questions. And so you can do a simulation over cost accounting. It's not a big deal. Regulation. It still has simulations. And so how does it affect how you study? It doesn't. And how are the CPA exam software packages going to change? They really aren't. The big change is going to happen in 2018. So, but April 2017 CPA exam, it's going to be business as usual. So I wouldn't stress out about it. So to recap, the exam is 4 hours long. The simulations are worth more points. So they're now set at 40% of your grade, worth 50% of your grade. For auditing, financial, and regulation for BEC, it's worth 35%. BEC still has written communications, which are worth 15%. The multiple choice sections for all 4 sections are worth 50%. How does it impact how you study? It doesn't. And so I hope that helps you. All right, everyone. See, I said I wanted to get it in under 45 minutes. Hey, 35 minutes, not too shabby. All right. Thank you for everyone who submitted questions. If you want to be a part of the next podcast, go to another71.com, click Ask Jeff. It's at the top of the page, and your question will appear in the future edition of the podcast. If you can, try to trim your questions down to 2 or 3 sentences. It helps me to edit them down. So sometimes I have a question that's a paragraph, and I really want to answer the question, but I don't want to read a paragraph and in the podcast. So that's very helpful. Be good, everyone. Take care, and I will talk to you soon.